Hi, I'm Laurie Stickney. I'm a social worker and bereavement counselor at Niagara Hospice, and today I'm here to talk with you a bit about anticipatory grief. So, anticipatory grief is a feeling of grief that occurs before the impending loss. It's feelings that you experience when a death is imminent or likely. It's normal. It's extremely normal, even important even. So let's talk a bit about what anticipatory grief looks like. Anticipatory grief has many of the same symptoms or feelings or experiences that you will have with normative grief, grief after the loss has occurred. So anticipatory grief looks a lot like grief, normative grief. It's all the thoughts and feelings and experiences and cultural repercussions, social reactions, all of the things that happen in grief may or may not happen before your death has occurred. So anticipatory grief involves things like thinking about what will it be like after my loved one dies? What will my loved one's dying be like? There's a lot of thoughts that go through your head, thoughts and fears, a lot of feelings that happen, and a lot of feelings like you will feel in the grief process. Feelings of depression, anger, fear, all of those feelings that you have when you're grieving, you can have before your loved one dies during anticipatory grief. So there can be a great deal of concern for the patient, which a lot of heightened concern for the patient, which also leads to difficult feelings. And it kind of begins to orient you to what the grief process will be like. There's a lot of cultural things that you'll go through in preparing for the death, making the funeral arrangements, helping the person make the funeral arrangements even, helping them write their obituary even. These are healthy things, of course, depending on the emotional health and well-being of the patient. While you're going through all of this, you also, of course, have social reactions to your impending expected death. Your friendships are changing, your work life is changing, your activities are changing. When you're a caregiver, and usually while you're anticipating a loss, you are also caring for the person you're going to lose. There's a lot of adjustment to all these changes that are happening. So you have opportunities here too to complete this unfinished business. A lot of people have unfinished business with the person who's dying, whether good or bad. It's an opportunity. When somebody is dying and we're aware that they're going to die, we can close that unfinished business. Say those things that we need to say. I'm sorry. I forgive you. I love you. Goodbye. There's sometimes unfinished business, and when somebody's dying and we're acknowledging that they're dying, we can try to finish that unfinished business. Now, having anticipatory grief does not mean that you're not going to grieve after they die, and it likely won't lessen the grief that you're going to have after they die. I get that question asked a lot. A significant amount of anticipatory grief might prove to lessen the impact of the loss of the person a bit, but it certainly won't lessen the impact of the grief over the changes that this loss has brought. Because your life is going to change in so many ways with the death of somebody that has been impactful in your life. If you're caring for somebody, they clearly have been impactful in your life. And good, bad, ugly, your life is going to change. If you had a good relationship with the person who's dying, you're going to miss them. You're going to miss all kinds of things about them. If you had a bad relationship with that person, there's going to be grief over the fact that maybe you never achieved a good relationship. Grief is very complicated. Relationships are complicated. People are very complicated. So there can be some positive effects to anticipatory grief. If we accept that our loved one is going to die while they're still alive, it can give us some opportunities. Now, there's a lot of feelings attached to that. You may think, you may feel like you're betraying the person while they're still alive because you're expecting them to die, and you're trying to accept the fact that they're going to die while they're still alive. You may feel like you're betraying them for being okay that they're going to die. You may feel like you're abandoning them while they're in life by accepting death. It's very complicated. So, but let me tell you, if you can get to the point where you're accepting that the person is going to die, it can allow you to form a deeper, stronger relationship with them in your acceptance. Instead of denying or fighting the reality that they're going to die, you can instead companion them on this journey they're making. You can have deeper conversations. You can talk to them about their life and how they feel about the fact that they're going to die. Talk about what's happening as they die. Some of the best experiences I've had as a hospice worker over my couple of decades have been about what the dying person is experiencing, what they see, what they dream about, what they experience. And it's okay to talk to them about it. They know they're dying, and it can be a relief for that person if you admit and acknowledge that fact. Now, I've heard of situations, and I've experienced situations where I remember one very specifically where she was like, "What do you mean I'm dying?" And it was, everybody's different. You know your loved one. Can you speak openly about this? Or and sometimes when they have a dementia or an Alzheimer's, maybe it's not okay to talk openly about it with them, but at least you can inside know the truth of it. So if you can talk to the person who's dying about what they're going through, companion them on that walk they're taking, that would be really good for both of you. If you know the person and they're not going to be cool with it, then don't. Talk to your siblings or your friends, or keep a journal. That would be great if you kept a journal. And that's what we're here for too. The counselors are here, your social worker. You can ask for pre-bereavement counseling and talk to your bereavement counselor about what you're going through. Anticipatory grief is very real. It's very deep, and there's no timeline for any of it. You will feel what you're going to feel when you're going to feel it. And I know that's very non-specific, but grief is that way. But it can be important for you to think about the future and plan the future, knowing that they will eventually not be here. And it takes some imaginal thinking on your part, because you have to imagine what your life is going to be like when that person has died. So let's have a scenario, make up a scenario here. You have a loved one who is, they have cancer, and they've been given a bad prognosis. They're going to die within 6 months or so. So everything begins to change for the person who's dying and for you. Your thoughts are all about them. You are their caregiver. You have to attend to their every need. You meet all that. You do what you have to do. You do the caregiving. You pay the bills. You you begin to be aware of those lasts. Is this the last time I'm gonna drive to Roswell with them? Is this the last time we'll play cards? Is this the last time we'll bake cookies? Is this, you know, is this her last Christmas? Is this what's going to happen? When's it going to happen? You become much more aware of time and the passage of time and the meaningfulness of everything. So when you, in your heart and head, start making plans, well, you know, after they die, maybe I'll go on vacation, or, you know, you start making plans for the future, and then you feel guilty about making plans for the future because they're still alive and you don't want them to die, but you know they're going to die, and it's very complicated. It's normal. All of it's normal. But anticipatory grief, you need to know, is real grief. It's real grief. It's real work. So sometimes you may feel, you may grieve so much before they die that you feel like there's no tears left. There's plenty of tears. Just because you have a significant period of anticipatory grief, as I said a minute ago, does not mean you're not going to have a significant amount of grief. But again, the grief is about something different. Ultimately, anticipatory grief is a very dynamic person. It differs from person to person. I want to take you back to kind of what I started talking about when I began this. The thoughts, the emotion, the social impact, the spiritual impact. It's all very real. It's all very complicated. It changes and and is in flux before the person dies. You're already grieving for that person. You may fear a premature detachment if you give into those thoughts, but it's not like that. It just, anticipatory grief just makes things deeper. It's painful, it still hurts, but it's gonna happen. Maybe this video will help you know that it's normal. It's normal to anticipate the death of somebody before they die. It's normal to think about what things will be like once they die. So please don't think you're abnormal. Don't judge yourself. Anticipatory grief is very similar to normative grief in the emotions and the emotional impact. If you have any questions, thoughts, fears, input, please give us a call in the bereavement department at hospice. I wish you beauty and peace in whatever it is that you're dealing with.